Today's talk will help you conquer your mind's resistance. It is a guided meditation that will help you truly experience and practice how to dissolve identification with the mind, which is in a constant mode of attachment to the pleasant and resistance to the unpleasant. After the guided meditation, we will also do a little bit of Q&A and explanation on how to really practice this in your day-to-day life and take it deeper. Enjoy the video. Notice in any given moment that desire, motive, having an agenda, this is what obscures our true nature of non-resistance, non-resistant being. Contentment, peacefulness. Non-resistance isn't something you can create or mentally do. There is already and always an underlying non-resistance, regardless of the experience which is appearing. You cannot create non-resistance. You can only create resistance. Simply relax out of resistance, and the only thing that is left is non-resistance. Non-resistance is the nature of being what I am. Resistance, on the other hand, is a concept falsely believed in. Experience is always appearing with its own qualities, some unpleasant, some pleasant, some pleasurable, some painful. That's just the flavor of experience. What claims this is right and this is wrong? This is desirable and this is undesirable. And why is that concept believed in so strongly? Notice that every experience that arises, there's also just this constant judgment, a constant relating with that experience through some sort of idea of good or bad, right and wrong, beneficial or detrimental. It is as if the mind looks at all experiences through the filter of gain and loss, benefit or loss. Notice that you do not do anything to create this judgment. They simply happen, they simply arise in the mind. When experience is pleasant, or when experience is portraying a story that is in alignment with personal preference, in alignment with the benefit of the person, then mind is clinging, attaching itself to that experience, judging that this is the right experience, that this is a good experience. When experience is unpleasant, when experience is portraying a story that is in opposition to the mind's preferences, when it contradicts what the mind believes to be beneficial, when experience feels as personal loss, then there is a underlying mental judgment that this is a bad experience, that this shouldn't be happening, that the very happening of this experience is something wrong, and that it should be avoided or manipulated or changed into something in alignment with personal preference. Experience will continue to always appear as pleasant or unpleasant. It will be always felt as pleasant or unpleasant. Experience will always portray a story, either of personal gain or personal loss, personal benefit or something for the person to fear and avoid. That part you cannot change. The more you try to, the more you suffer. What we can do is begin to notice that this constant judgment of experience, this constant relating with experience through the lens of good, bad, right, wrong, gain, loss, this need not be believed in. Simple as that. Allow experience to be as it is in this moment. Pleasure or pain, gain or loss, experience this flavor of experience. Simply do not identify with mental judgment of good, bad, right, wrong. See that this mental judgment is not you. You are not doing it. You are not creating it. It is also just arising spontaneously. But now it need not be believed in. It need not be taken to be what I am. Through this, we start to notice a few things about our experience. We start to notice a few things about our true nature. First thing is, we start to see that previously I thought that the cause, the root of my suffering was the experience that was happening, the pain that I was experiencing, or the unfavorable circumstance that had come into my seeing. But now we start realizing that experience can be pleasant or unpleasant. That is its flavor. But suffering was created due to identification with this layer of mental judgment towards pain or pleasure. we start realizing that it is not pain or pleasure which creates suffering. It is attachment to pleasure and resistance to pain which creates suffering. Then naturally we start to become able to experience both pleasure and pain, experience pleasure without attachment, and experience pain without resistance. Sometimes experience appears pleasant, sometimes unpleasant. Sometimes it portrays a story that is of personal gain and benefit, sometimes of personal loss. Sometimes we experience a spiritual high, sometimes a spiritual low. Sometimes the mind is clear, sometimes it is not. Sometimes emotions are pleasant, sometimes they are unpleasant. Experience is a river, constantly flowing. Both pleasure and pain can be experienced without suffering, gain or loss, abundance or limitation. We can allow experience to be as it is in this moment without suffering. Catch the culprit, the mind which is constantly judging, craving, resisting, and see that this craving and resisting mind is not you. Its mental positions and opinions and judgments are not you. They do not belong to you. Do not believe in them. Belief in them keeps us hypnotized in many illusions. If you are not these mental judgments, then what are you? Notice that even these mental judgments arise and are seen. in a non-judgmental awareness. Notice that these mental resistances are seen by a non-resisting awareness. Mental attachments are seen by a non-attached awareness. Ideas of good, bad, right, wrong, gain, loss arise and are seen by an awareness which is not an idea. Even mental motives, the mind's agenda towards what experience should be and should not be, where it should go, even these motives are seen by awareness, which has no motives. You are this awareness. You are that which is aware. And your nature is non-resistance, non-resistant being, free from motive and judgment towards any experience which appears in you, including the judgments, motives, resistances. You are so pure that you do not even have resistance towards mental resistances. And you need not achieve this or access this or become this. We only need to notice that this is the underlying reality of all experience that is appearing. This non resistant, pure, motiveless, desireless awareness is the ground in which this entire experience is allowed to appear. Total allowance of whatever may appear, including the mind, which is judging and describing. But you are not that mind. Judgments do not belong to you. Stop identifying. So, throughout the spiritual journey, there will be many highs, many lows, a lot of pleasure, and a lot of pain. Sometimes experience will appear as a personal gain, a spiritual gain. Sometimes it will appear as a personal loss, the loss of all spiritual clarity. Throughout it all, be as you are. Be as awareness is, empty of judgment, empty of attachment, empty of resistance, empty of agenda, empty of motive. Throughout every experience of pleasure and pain, strive to notice the underlying allowance, acceptance. It is not a creating of this acceptance, it is a simple noticing that even this experience, whatever it may be, is allowed. That is why it is appearing. It is seen by that which has no judgment. This process of wishing experience to be something else, wanting this, needing that, liking this, hating that, start to see this entire mental process as not self. It is not you. Yes, it feels very intimate. Yes, it feels very much like it is me and mine and my doing. The mind does feel that it is me. Start to see that this is not the case. You are the seer of mind, the knower of mind. Mind has many resistances and judgments. You have none. Even the mind's suffering is seen by you and allowed to appear in you. in your seeing without any resistance. Clinging and resisting do not belong to you. Judgment and descriptions do not belong to you. Gain and loss do not apply to you. Pleasure or pain do not affect you. Suffering does not disturb you. Every experience, every flavor is fully allowed to be as it is in this moment. Be that allowance. Notice that you already are that allowance, that acceptance. Don't wait to become that. Notice it to be your nature here and now. And let the entire spiritual journey unfold in that total allowance. Because ultimately, you are not even this story. You are not even this person. You are not even the spiritual seeking. You are not even these phases of clarity or confusion. You are not the suffering or the relief from suffering. And lastly, know that this non resistance is what we call surrender. Surrender and non resistance mean the same thing. Total allowance of whatever is appearing in this moment. Being the empty, open space of knowing, awareness, in which the whole river of experience is flowing. Your peace and freedom lie not inside of pleasurable experiences or experiences portraying personal gain. Your peace and freedom lie not in turning pain and limitation to pleasure and abundance. Your peace and freedom lie in letting experience be however it is appearing at the moment without identifying with any judgment, attachment, resistance. This freedom is already there. Now we are just awakening to it, learning to notice it in any moment you remember to. Okay. We can end the guidance there. You can feel free to open your eyes whenever you're ready.
So yeah, this non-resistance thing, uh, so these days, like I'm just when I'm doing practicing it, right, or even in any moment, when I'm trying to notice, I can notice that yeah, this mind is like constantly trying to find some solution, like to a given, like I don't know the answer to it, right? So I can observe this that it's trying to find solution, but then I'm not able to drop it, right? Like sometimes I'm able to, but it's very
Instead
sticky
of
in nature.
dropping it, instead of dropping it, see that you are not it. If you see you are not it, then even if it's there, it is not troublesome. You know,
Hmm.
don't wish for it to go away. Just see that it is noticed, it is seen, it is in your seeing. Therefore, it cannot be you. It does not belong to you. It is not your doing. In the very seeing that you are not that, you will not be
Hmm.
compelled by it. You know, if it was your doing, then you can say, I can drop it. And I know
Hmm.
in a certain way, like if we speak differently, I may in a different conversation tell you, hey, drop it. But in alignment with today's discussion, I will say that it's not about dropping it or getting rid of it. Don't try to wrestle the mind into non-resistance. Instead, just see that the resisting mind is observed, and therefore it is not you.
Yeah.
It is more so about that. Let the
Yes.
mind also be however it is appearing. Don't, even that which wishes for the mind to be different is also the mind. Mind wants the mind to be different. Mind wants this, mind. Any wanting is of the mind only. Any desire to change, any desire to drop or get rid of is the mind only. And even that is seen by that which is not wanting anything.
Yes. Yeah. I'll practice this. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I said at the end of the guidance that like your freedom lies not in you know, changing experience from this to that, or even changing the mind from like resistant to allowing. You know, our freedom and peace lie in seeing that all experience can appear as it is appearing in this moment. And even this mind, which is judging and fighting, and even this is actually an experience which is also being seen and it not even need change at all.
Just happening.
It's just happening. Just see it and notice that it is also a passing experience. It's not you. It's not yours. Don't even be moved by the resisting mind, you know? And even underlying the resistant mind is non-attached, non-resisting awareness or self. Because just notice the changefulness. Today the mind is really resisting and miserable. Tomorrow it is happy, at ease. Then once again it changes to this. Then it becomes angry, then it becomes fearful, then it becomes elated, then it becomes depressed, then it thinks good things about life, then it thinks bad things about life. You are not this constant swing of thought and emotion. Don't ride that roller coaster by identifying with this constant swing of thought and emotion. Be as you are. Be the underlying awareness in which this whole roller coaster is being seen. You know, the awareness of an excited, pleasant state of thought and emotion is the same awareness of a very miserable thought and emotion. The nature of what you see changes, but you are always the same. It's not a different awareness of pleasure and different awareness of pain. Same underlying awareness, which is the ground in which both pleasure and pain are fully allowed. So don't wait for the mind to stop resisting. Just whatever the mind is also appearing as in this moment, it is observed. Therefore, it is not you. Therefore, you need not battle against it. You are the total allowance of even the arising of this mind, whatever it's projecting.
Also, yeah, so sometimes what happens is like uh, the mind finds a solution, right? So like, it's thinking and it finds a solution, and it's like it's a relief, right? Well, once we find the solution, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah. So it's a relief at that particular point of time, but it's temporary, right? Like it's basically even that relief is been seen,
exactly.
right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. So just yeah, I think sometimes I get fall for this trap, like because it's a relief. I feel like yeah, it's working, right? Something like the practice is working,
Yeah.
right? Now that I yeah, just it's not that practice is working. It's just that even that relief is missing.
That relief itself is a temporary mental state.
Yes,
Even
yes,
the subtler like emotions and feelings of and thoughts of clarity that you may receive because you are practicing spiritual disciplines, even those what I call spiritual highs are
mm,
states of mind which come and go. Don't We just had a conversation in the community, I believe yesterday, where I said like the spiritual highs, those periods of great clarity where you feel like you have everything figured out and everything, you have a great outlook on life, that is not a sign of progress. They will just happen. But also the spiritual lows where you feel like all progress is lost and you are miserable and you have a horrible outlook on life, those are not signs of loss of progress. Both these highs and lows will come and go. Our job is simply to allow both of them to appear and disappear as they come and go and just practice through them without attaching ourselves to the highs or resisting the lows. Observe the coming and going of both without any attachment or resistance, without ever subjecting ourselves to, oh, I am now greater and in a better place, or I am now in a worse place. This is just the story that experience is always portraying. Don't buy into it. It does not apply to you. Have space for even the lows where mentally you feel like totally confused and stuck again. Even that experience is fully allowed. Notice that. What says that this is a wrong experience that shouldn't be happening? It's also just the mind. Don't buy into that. Don't identify with that. Let even that experience come and go. Good on this? Anything else on this?
no, sir. Thank you.
Okay. It's going to be especially important for you right now because you've been describing how, you've been going through some sort of rocky phase. So welcome it
Yes,
and practice this non-resistance through it. And it's a blessing that you have been bestowed this unpleasant or rocky experience right now because without it, you could not practice this to the degree that you are being
yeah, yeah.
obliged to practice it now. which is why you can also see that in every experience there's a blessing. Like that's why life is always as it needs to be, because it will always, how whatever is happening, it will always leave you wiser than it found you if you practice these things through it. This is truly like the ground of practice. All personal life is the ground for this practice of being as you are. That's all for today's video. If you're new here, consider subscribing and make sure to join our free self-inquiry community. Over there, you can access tons of resources that will help you with your practice. I'll link that down below. And if this is something that you are looking to work with me personally on, if you want to get more structure, guidance, support to consistently practice and take your self-inquiry practice deeper, awaken to your true nature more deeply, then consider joining our Self Inquiry School. In Self Inquiry School, you gain access to my 10-week self inquiry course where I will guide you day by day to take your practice deeper. You also gain access to our weekly Q&A meetings, our guided meditation meetings, and live online retreats that we do every month. It's all under one umbrella, one membership. You can check that out below in the description box as well. Thank you again for watching. I will see you next time.